Coming up in the news, the nation's leader on Grand Bahama to officially open Elnett Maritime Center. Also, a national drill exercise testing the country's response in the event of a terrorist attack or major threat. And an attorney weighing in on the conversation of marital rape. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Shashina Roll-Farkas, and as always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news this evening, the nation's leader, Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Davis, on Grand Bahama for the opening of the Elnett Maritime Center. During a press briefing, CEO Albert Hepburn telling those in attendance that this dream was birthed at the age of 28. Also, he credited the father of the nation, the former Prime Minister Sir Lyndon Pindling's bend or break speech as his source of motivation.
Explain my vision and my dream of owning and creating an exclusive boutique-style marine ship agency. Before leaving that meeting, they co-signed, and I got agreements from some of the world's top oil majors, such as Vitol, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, Phillips 66. That culture that Sir Lyndon Pindling created is the reason we are here today. This journey here that my family and I have embarked on some 14 years ago has been an inspiration to us, has been an inspiration to family, and has been an inspiration to friends and even strangers. But if you were to take anything from this, what we've done here today to this point and what we're going to do in the future, take this. If you dream it and you believe it, you can definitely do it.
Minister for Transport and Housing JoBeth Colby, along with the Minister for Grand Bahama Ginger Moxie, also congratulating the successful young businessman on presenting many employment opportunities for many Bahamians, adding that the new center will also serve as a warehouse and logistics facility.
I'm advised that this center during the construction phase has created over 125 jobs, and now in operation will allow for the creation of 50 to 100 new jobs, a significant boost for the economy of Grand Bahama. It is no secret that Grand Bahama has endured many challenges over the last few years. However, the opening of this center is a step in the right direction for the island. The Bahamas is a maritime nation. According to the Bahamas Maritime Authority, the industry contributes an estimate 14 to 18% of gross domestic product. The Bahamas Ship Registry is comprised of over 1,500 ships, which includes cruise ships, tankers, general cargo ships, and other totaling over 60 million gross tonnage, making our registry among the top 10 largest in the world.
I would like to personally thank you, Ali, for partnering with Team Pine Ridge on Maritime 101, which will give young people first-hand knowledge of the tremendous opportunities available in the maritime industry. I would also like to salute the amazing staff of Elnett for the stellar work that they do.
Now, the nation's leader, Prime Minister Philip Davis, also marking this moment of success as a notable one for Elnett Maritime, as he says, despite challenges, he has persisted.
Apart from the more usual financial challenges and obstacles that ambitious projects encounter, not many ventures have had to overcome the challenges presented by a Category 5 hurricane, a global pandemic, and a generational surge in inflation. In this context, your success is all the more remarkable. And I congratulate you on this exceptional achievement. In fact, your vision, ambition, and progress to date have already singled you out as among the best of us.
Now, our Jamila Mizik was at the Elnett Maritime ribbon cutting ceremony, and she will have a full report in tomorrow evening's newscast. Well, the nation's leader says an investigation has been launched on a number of pandemic spending programs under the former Minnis administration, among them the Food Assistance Program. The nation's leader says there has been some startling results during a period in the pandemic when Bahamians were struggling to feed themselves and their families, adding that several NGOs failed to utilize their full allocation.
What is the point of holding on to funds when there was such a huge need to feed our people? And if the funds were available, why was better quality food not provided to all Bahamians? We all remember the complaints of those who, week after week, had a diet imposed on them of little more than corned beef and rice. Madam Speaker, these NGOs were holding on to substantial amounts of cash. In one case, one had close to $2 million sitting in their bank accounts. Why? These amounts have since been returned, as I mentioned, as we have demanded, but this fact, coupled with extremely poor record keeping, which characterize all elements of this program, leaves one to question what exactly was the true purpose of this program.
The Prime Minister Davis also adding that some of the NGOs have since returned funds since inquiries have begun, but he also says that there has also been poor record keeping and the failure to provide real information, including here on Grand Bahama.
The program was run out of the political office of the then Minister for Grand Bahama, and no real cooperation has been forthcoming. Madam Speaker, the Bahamian people deserve answers, and steps have and will be taken to ensure that those responsible will be held accountable.
Now, the food program ended in September 2021. Well, the Ministry of Transport conducting an international ship and port facility exercise throughout the country today. Officials say the objective was to test the response of national security teams in the event of a terrorist attack or major threat. As Remiko Knowles tells us, shortly after 10 a.m., officials responded to a call of an explosion at Bahama Rock Limited, and that is when the drill commenced.
I heard an explosion coming from the magazine area. I can also see a fire, and it looks like 10 to 12 employees may be injured. Alright, 10-4.
A message received by a port facility officer detailing the incident on the grounds of Bahama Rock Limited. Although it was only a drill, officials made the exercise as realistic as possible. Several employees of Bahama Rock were laying on the ground, pretending as if they were injured from the explosion. Food coloring was used on their clothing to replicate blood. The first responders were employees of the facility. Utility and Inventory Supervisor Brian Burrows says he is pleased with the response.
Oh, we was well pleased with the way how they responded. Whenever we do have an incident at the quarry at Bahama Rock, all of our employees would come to that area of wherever the emergency may be, and that's exactly what happened today. A number of our employees, they responded. They noticed that some of their co-workers was injured, and they started to comfort some, and some who needed a CPR and needed to use the AED that was also administered by our employees.
Safety training meetings are conducted at the facility every month, as well as first aid training. After assessing the scene, emergency response teams were called in. Shortly after 10:30 a.m., media received a report from police officials of an explosion at Bahama Rock and confirmed that some persons were injured. Officers from the Royal Bahamas Police Force arrived, followed by Defense Force officers, emergency medical services, and officers from the fire department. Assistant Superintendent of Police Teresita Pinder explains the protocols for officers in the event of an explosion.
A bomb exploded, so our first initial contact would have been persons from our bomb expert unit, fire department, CID, scenes of crime, all the relevant parties we need on the scene right away. That was done. Our response times was good. Explosive experts came on scene, ascertained that there was a device there. They checked to make sure all was clear before officers can come on and ascertain and investigate the situation. That was done. The all clear was given.
At the end of the exercise, officials will meet and an overall assessment will be given.
And all parties, Bahama Rock and all other parties, will now assess and see what changes need to be made and what procedures we need to put in place. That's the whole point of having a mock demonstration.
As an exercise in real life situation, it could take even longer, but this exercise will prepare us for a real life situation. So there's really no goal time, but we're able to record the time that they do respond. And so we would know in the event that if there really is an emergency, the time that we may expect, or even an improvement on the time that they'll be here to assist us.
Now, officials say this drill was planned months ago and that it is not in response to the ongoing war. Ramiko Knowles, ZNS Network News.
Thanks, Miko. Well, police officials continuing their investigations into the island's latest murder. The victim has been identified by family members as 39-year-old Valentino Boleg. According to reports, police were called to a business establishment in the West End community on Sunday, where there were reports of an altercation involving a group of persons that led to Boleg being shot to the upper thigh. The injured man was taken to the West End Community Clinic via private vehicle and later succumbed to his injuries. Now 3 males and a female remain in custody, assisting police with this investigation. And as the discussion continues nationwide on the question of whether or not non-consensual sex within marriage should be considered rape, tonight a local attorney is lending her voice to this issue. Jamila Mizik reports.
The issue of marital rape remains a hot-button topic as there continues to be mixed reviews about whether or not a husband or wife can rape their spouse. And as it relates to marital rape, attorney-at-law Constance McDonald QC says persons tend to focus on the end result as opposed to the root cause of these problems.
I do matrimonial law, and I sometimes wonder why some people get married. They're obviously incompatible. They can't get along. Didn't you have counseling before you got married? I mean, you needed to discuss these things.
McDonald says she believes it is important to focus on the underlying causes for these issues.
And I really don't believe that imposing a lot of sanctions and strict penalties solves the problem. It just makes it so that persons do things where they think they will not get caught. I think we need to deal with the underlying reasons. And I think it has also to do with the power struggle in the marriage and one spouse believing that, because if you have a marriage where persons are friends and they're compatible, you should never have to be even dealing with something like marital rape. So let's fix the problem.
And she says before persons begin to talk about marital rape, there is a need to discuss relationships and how persons relate to one another as human beings.
It's how we view each other. Do you view me as just a sex object that you could have whenever you want to? Is that how you view your wife? Is that how you view your spouse? Or do you see me as a human being, a person with feelings, who sometimes may be emotionally not in a particular mood or something like that? And do you have any understanding of me as a woman?
McDonald says she believes that before getting married, persons should first examine themselves. Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
The Ministry of Health reporting 3 new COVID-19 cases yesterday, 2 in New Providence and 1 in Eleuthera. The total number of COVID-19 cases in the country since the pandemic is 33,188. Overall, there are 10 hospitalizations with 4 in Grand Bahama. 3 of that number are moderately ill and 1 remain in the intensive care unit. That's going to take us to our first break. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment.